All right, now what? Who is this?
It's a Chevy Nova.
It's a super fast Chevy Nova.
Super fast?
Super fast. Can't you tell? Look at all the performance parts in there.
Oh, yeah.
Your buddy Terry brought this over last week. He has a friend who would like us to do a custom rust rescue restoration on it. And actually, it's in pretty good shape. I mean, if you look at the body's in pretty good shape. There's not actually a lot of rust on it. The interior definitely needs to be completely redone. And it actually runs, it just doesn't run really well. He thinks there may be water in the oil. So we were thinking we would tear it down and really see truly what's wrong with it.
Yep.
But he's been yelling about a few other things that he sees
Yeah,
here.
this thing is beyond botched together. But the good news is it has a brand new air filter, so that's one positive.
So it should run fine then.
It already runs fine. I don't see the problem. We have a Holly double pump on here. It's vacuum secondaries though, which is still okay. You have aluminum intake on it. There are headers on it, but they are botched and smashed and crushed and just in bad shape. But they will work just to make the car run. That's not a big deal. Moving forward, we have a lovely assembly of vacuum lines that go to nothing.
Wow.
And I have wires that go to nothing. Oh, and the wires that run into the firewall are just a big old hole. No grommet, no sealant, just water goes right in.
There's supposed to be a... Oh, never mind.
Yeah, you don't need watertight in this.
Is that a high-performance screw in that vacuum line?
Oh, yeah, that screw where? Oh, yeah. Oh, and your vacuum advance has a bigger line into a smaller line, but back into the bigger line, which makes it run better.
Yeah.
So basically, guys, we've got a lot of work to do on this, but I think it's going to be a beautiful project when we get it done. But where do you want to start?
I already took off the best looking part, so...
All right, let me give you a bunch of bags so you can label all the bolts and stuff. Let me give you a big tote.
Yeah.
What I need you to do, pull the valve covers off, pull the intake off, pull the alternator off, pull the heads off, and let's see where this thing has got a problem.
All right.
Because water in the oil is either a busted head gasket or a cracked block.
So I'm going to hope it's not the cracked block. So if you want to grab those bags, I'm going to go get us a tent because with the Le Mans taking up all of our space in the garage, we're going to have to do all this work out here in the driveway. So I'm going to grab a tent.
Okay.
All right, let's get to work, guys.
Sounds good.
Before we start tearing this apart, we're going to spray it down with some penetrating oil because all these bolts have been in here for a long time and they're probably not going to want to come out. So this is going to make the job a whole lot easier. You can get penetrating oil at any local auto parts store, and while you're there, pick up a pair of these nitrile gloves because if you don't want to get dirty working on the car or have all these yucky chemicals soaking into your skin, this just makes the job a whole lot cleaner.
All right, the next thing we're doing is taking the alternator out of the way. Best thing to do is take all the stuff up top off first, and then we're going to drain the radiator out, get all the coolant out of this thing, because when you pull the heads, if you still have coolant in there, it will go everywhere, and it's just a big mess. You want to try and stay as clean as you can, at least on the ground. Why make a mess if you don't have to?
I've got all the bolts and the washers that came off of the carburetor. One of the best things to do if you don't want to lose track of all these little tiny parts when you're pulling things apart, put them in a Ziploc baggie and label them. So I'm just going to put carburetor on here, and when we go to put everything back together, we'll know what parts go where. Now that we've gotten the antifreeze drained, we're actually going to go ahead and take the radiator and the fan completely off because we're going to have to get into this engine And while technically we could get to everything without doing that, you might as well just get everything out of your way and make it easier so you're not fighting to try and get your hands and your tools in these tight spaces. It's just not worth the effort. So, Lance, let's say we get this radiator and fan off before you start tearing into that.
Step ahead of you.
All right. Now that we've got the water pump out and the radiator and all the radiator supports, the fan, all that's gone, we have a lot more room to work here. So we're working on getting the bolts out of the headers so we can pull those off. And then I think we're going to need to pressure wash it because there's a lot of gunk down here, and getting it clean is going to make it a lot easier to work with. You almost done with that side, Lance?
I'm getting there. I got 2 more bolts left.
All right, I'll get these out.
Good to go. Just taking the valve cover off to get to them.
They're rubber, therefore they're hoses.
Oh,
That's gross.
they left me a treat. It's cappuccino. It's cappuccino mix right there.
Well, you know, that could be part of the problem with why the engine's not running well.
That
I'd say
would
we found
indeed
the water
be.
in our oil.
That would indeed be the problem.
Oh,
See,
my.
this right here is what it looks like when you get water, well, radiator fluid and water mixed in with your oil. You get this nice creamy mixture.
Ew.
And that's not good. That's not high performance oil. That's not low performance oil. That's no performance oil. That's bad in general. So, well, sure enough, we're mixing, but not in the good way, not the Betty Crocker way. Alright, so now that we've got the valve covers off, we can really get in here and you can see it is milky and delicious everywhere. So with that said, next thing we can do is pull the rock arms off and the push rods out, which I already did with this cylinder. But I'll show you real quick how they come off. There's just a nut here, if it's a factory setup of course, which this is. It's just a nut here. Break the nut loose, thread it out. The nut comes off like so. Rock arm slides right out. All that milkiness, goodness in there. There's a little ball in here too. Don't lose him. Keep him in there. Put them all together like that. And here's your push rod. So that's really what we're going to do is take all these out. There's 16 of them, including this side and that side. So just take them out, put them in a bag, and get to clean them up.
All right, now that Leanne and Lance have that motor completely apart, I'm gonna go out there and do a little bit of pressure washing, get it all nice and clean so we can reassemble it and get it working again.
Hey Vince, come here, I need your help.
Okay. Well, everything's done outside. Pressure washing is all done in the car.
Great.
I want to let it dry off a little bit, so
Good, so you have some time to help me.
I'm afraid to even ask what that is.
This is our universal wiring harness.
Oh.
Lance just kind of dropped off this box, and I think he went to get some more parts for the engine, and so we are left to figure out what all this stuff is. But my understanding is that this is a universal wiring harness from American Auto Wire.
Is that for the GTO?
It is. It's for our Le Mans.
Wow. That's all I gotta say.
We just got to figure out what everything is, but I understand that there are some things about this particular wiring harness that you liked versus some of the others we were looking at.
The wiring in it, as you can tell, I mean, that's heavy gauge wire.
Yeah, that's wow, that's amazing.
It's
It's heavy stuff.
yeah, it's pretty good stuff. What I like too is we're going to get rid of the old glass fuses.
Okay.
And go with the new
Here's the fuse box.
and all. Nice new plastic fuses. So we're going to relocate that to where it's easier to get to. So when we have to start changing fuses for any reason, we don't have to be climbing under the dashboard and
That's
reaching
always
in up
good.
to here and all that kind of fun stuff. And if you notice, all the fuses are labeled. So one of the things I really
Hey.
like about this.
I love it when things are labeled.
One of the things I really like about this one, though, is we're wired for everything. We're wired for stuff we may not even use on the car, but if we want to put them in later on, we're wired already. So we're not going to cut nothing.
Oh, good.
We're going to kind of roll and tuck.
Well, I understand that it really is a complete universal wiring harness, and it's great because you don't have to find a harness that is specific to the type of car that you're working on. They really are good for, any type of classic car, hot rods, even race cars, and they give you everything that you need. We're going to be able to wire for the battery, the ignition, the alternator. It's got headlights, including your high beams, brake lights, turn signals. It even gives you a 3-way dimmer switch that you can mount to the floor, although I don't know if we're going to use that or not. But you've got everything. You'll be able to wire for oil pressure, water temperature, all the stuff you need on your dash. So pretty much, if you want to know what's going on in your car, this is going to give you the wires to do it. And normally it comes in a very organized package, but since Lance just dumped it all in a box and dropped it off, we're going to now need to spread this thing out, I think, and separate it, figure out what we've got, and just kind of go from there. But one of the things I do like is I like that it has this nifty clamp style system, so we're not going to be spending our time doing a lot of crimping and cutting and screwing and all the things that make wiring difficult. This is as much plug and play as you can get in the market, so I'm excited about not having to do all that work.
But they do give you the butt connectors.
The what?
Butt splicers, I'm
Butt
sorry.
splicers. Do I even want to know what that is?
No, but it sounds painful. That's all I can say.
All right, well, let's get all this stuff spread out and figure out what we've got and go from there.
Best way, I think, is front compartment, rear compartment, middle compartment.
Okay, that sounds like a good deal.
Let's
do it.
that.
Now that we've finally gotten all of our wires separated, we have them laid out logically. And what we suggest is that you separate them out into 3 areas. You have your front of the car, the middle of the car, and the back of the car. So the first step is to figure out where you want to put your fuse box, because this is the center of all of your wiring. And you can put it pretty much wherever you want, in the glove box, underneath the dash, in the center console, even mounted in the engine compartment. We're probably going to put ours in the glove box, but don't quote me on that. We haven't decided yet. Now, the front of the car, we've got our switches and wires for the headlights, the front turn signals, and our pressure and temperature gauges. In the middle of the car, we've got all of our dash lights and all of our power accessories. So if we decided to put in power windows or power seats, all those wires are right here in the middle. Then in the back of the car, we have our wires for the rear turn signals, our brake light, our parking lights, and the reverse lights. So that makes it really logical. You split it out, rear, middle, and front. Now that we have it all organized, I'm going to make Vince and Lance put it all in the car, since I spend all the time trying to get these things organized. So our next step is to pull the old wiring harness out, get all this new stuff in.
Okay, before we get started on the wiring harness on the Le Mans, being that it's a lengthy process, it's going to be one wire at a time, one cluster at a time, we're going to recondition the heads that came off of the Nova. If you remember, we had a couple of broken parts. These are just the studs that hold on the rocker arms. But what we're going to show you here is how to recondition the valves, how to reseat them. The reason you do this on the old motors is a lot of times you get carbon buildup around the bottom of the valve. So when the valve shuts, it's not seated right. What that's going to do is cause compression leak. So you're going to have low compression in your motor. You're going to have backfiring through the exhaust. Sometimes you'll have backfiring through the carburetor because of it. So we're going to fix all that. While we've got it apart, we're going to change the oil seals so that we have no smoking in the morning and no oil leaks going into the cylinders. It's a pretty simple process. What you're going to do is you're going to put a socket underneath to hold the valve up. If you were to take these now, let's say go down to a machine shop, they're going to run you anywhere from $250 to $400 to be able to recondition these for you. This is what you need. You need a valve spring puller, you need the valve compound, the grinding compound, and I'm not really sure what they call this. I call it my little suction cup thing. What you're going to do is that grabs the valve and you just be able to spin it so it grinds it down. All this costs 28 bucks. So basically, if you want to take the time to do it, you're going to save a ton of money. Step number one, you're going to take the valve spring puller, put it as far down on the clips as you can get on the actual valve spring. Make sure it's tight because this will break free, same as a coil spring like we showed you before, and it hurts if it does. Then you're just going to tighten this down until the retaining clip breaks free. Let me get that to happen. Sometimes I have to use a little muscle on these. Now, one of the old tricks that I use is you get a pick and just kind of move it around until it breaks free. And a magnet. Pop it out. And there you go. Come out nice and easy. Don't mix these up, because if you mix them up, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Take that, goes here. Then because you're going to be doing more than one of these at a time, I don't suggest doing all your valves at one time. Do one at a time. We're actually waiting for the auto parts guy to bring us the new valve stem seals. So we have to just take them apart now. But usually I would say do one at a time so you can't mix them up. And just loosen that up. And let's see. There we go. You take your top piece off. You have your valve springs. This is actually pretty good valve springs. They're doubles. If you notice, there's a second spring inside of there. That's actually a good valve spring. Put them all in order. Now this is what we were talking about, the valve stems, which I just dropped on the floor, but that's okay. And this is why we're changing them. If you notice, they're all cracked. These come two different ways. You have a what they call an umbrella, which is what these are, or just a plain little O-ring that goes on the top. This one happens to have the umbrella. And then just tilt your cylinder up, push out your valve, and no, this one's going to be a little stubborn. So what we're going to do is we're going to coax it out a little bit. This is where a little cursing actually helps. All right, here it goes. See, I didn't have to do that. This one is pretty bad. It's actually carboned up really, really bad. And that's why it was stuck in there. But that'll just give you an idea on how to get them out. Let's get them over to the wire wheel and get them all cleaned up. And this way we can put them back in. Okay, we're going to reseat these valves now. What you're going to basically do is take some of your valve grinding compound. You're going to put that around the edge of the valve seat right here. A little bit goes a long way. Then all you're going to basically do is push your valve back in till it's seated right. Push in your suction cup and then spin it. Basically what you're doing is you're turning the valve and you're grinding it using the compound. And you're actually taking off all the gunk and all the garbage that's on that valve seat. It'll get easier and easier as you go along. I usually do it about 15 to 20 times. Okay. Then you're going to have to pull your valve back out again. See how easy that valve came out this time? We didn't have to hammer on it. Take a clean rag. And actually, let's get a cleaner one. And look at the difference in that valve seat now. Now it's actually down to bare metal like it's supposed to be. Put it in a container, get some brake cleaner, get some turpentine, whatever, and clean the whole thing out. Because this stuff will damage your motor if you leave it in there. It's actually a grinding compound. It's got sand in it, it's got filings in it. Just repeat that all the way down the line and put your valves back together and you'll be all good.